All right, welcome. Ever stop to think about the phone in your pocket? I mean, it was probably designed in one country, built in another, with parts from all over the world. How is that connected to, say, the interest rate on your savings account? Well, today we're going to untangle that exact web. We're unlocking the global economy to see how trade, money, and risk tie us all together.
All right, so just look around you. That device you're watching this on, the coffee you might be drinking, pretty much everything has a global story behind it. It can feel, massive and super complicated, but really, it all boils down to a system of flows and rules. The big question is, how on earth do we keep track of it all?
Well, to understand how countries deal with each other financially, you've got to start with the books. Yep, accounting. I know, it's not the sexiest topic, but just like a company, every single country keeps a detailed record of all its dealings with the outside world.
And that master ledger, the big one, is called the balance of payments. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a country's giant annual financial statement. It just adds up all the money flowing in and all of the money flowing out. It gives us this really clear snapshot of where a country stands financially with everyone else.
Okay, so this big statement gets broken down into two key parts. First up is the current account. This is mostly about trade, the stuff we buy and sell, like cars and software. Then you've got the financial account. This one tracks the movement of assets, think stocks, bonds, even things like buying a factory overseas.
So knowing what is moving is one thing, but that's really just half the picture. The much more interesting question is why? Why does all this money and stuff move around? And the answer, maybe surprisingly, isn't just about who makes the coolest gadgets. It's about something way more fundamental happening inside a country's own economy.
Right, so what really decides if a country ends up being a global lender or a global borrower? I mean, think about it. Why are some countries always lending money out to the world, while others seem to be constantly borrowing? The real driver for this isn't what you might think. It's not really about tariffs or trade deals. It's all about what's happening at home.
And this is the key. It's this simple but incredibly powerful formula. A country's current account, basically its trade balance, is equal to its national savings minus its national investment. It's this internal tug-of-war between saving and investing that actually determines a country's entire financial position with the rest of the globe.
And this lays it all out, right? There are really only two ways this can go. On one hand, if a country saves more money than it invests at home, what does it do with the extra cash? It lends it to the rest of the world. It becomes a global creditor. But if a country wants to invest more than it's saving, maybe it's building a ton of new infrastructure, it has to get that money from somewhere. It has to borrow it from the world, becoming a global debtor. Okay, so we've got all this money, savings and investments, sloshing around the globe. But how does that actually work? How does a dollar saved in New York turn into a new factory in Vietnam? Well, the piece that connects all these different markets and all these different currencies is the exchange rate.
First up, let's talk about the one you've definitely seen before, the nominal exchange rate. This is just the straightforward price of a currency. How many yen can I get for my dollar? That number you see scrolling at the bottom of the news, that's it.
But that nominal rate is just, the sticker price. What really matters for an economy is something called the real exchange rate. This is the one that tells you about a country's actual purchasing power and how competitive it is. It basically takes that nominal rate and adjusts it for the price of goods at home versus the price of goods abroad. It's the difference between seeing a number on a screen and knowing what that number can actually buy you in another country.
So yeah, the real exchange rate is what measures the relative price of stuff between two different countries. It answers that classic question, how many burgers in London can I buy for the price of one burger in New York? And this is the number that really determines whether a country's products look like a bargain or a ripoff to the rest of the world. Now, opening up your economy to the rest of the world, it's a huge deal. It creates these incredible opportunities, for sure. But, and this is a big but, it also comes with some pretty serious risks. It forces governments to make some really tough choices.
And look, the data on this is pretty clear. Over the long haul, open economies just tend to grow faster, a whole lot faster. If you're a closed economy, the amount you can invest is stuck. It's limited by what you can save yourself. Being open to the world completely shatters that limit.
So why is that? Well, it happens for a couple of key reasons. First, when foreign investment comes in, it's not just cash. It brings new tech, new ideas, new ways of doing things. And second, it introduces competition. When your local companies have to go head-to-head with the best in the world, they have no choice but to get better, sharper, and way more productive.
This brings us to one of the biggest choices any open economy has to make. What do you do with your currency? Do you fix its value to something stable, like the dollar? That gives you predictability, which businesses love. Or do you let it float freely, so your central bank has the power to respond to things like a recession? There's no easy answer here. It's a classic trade-off between stability and flexibility.
But here's the flip side of being so connected. It makes you vulnerable. When money can zip around the globe in an instant, a problem in one corner of the world can spread like wildfire, and that can lead to absolutely devastating financial crises. We're talking about banking systems collapsing, currencies going into freefall, or sometimes the nightmare scenario, where both happen at once. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? At the end of the day, being part of the global economy is probably the most powerful engine for growth we've ever seen. But it is absolutely not a free lunch. The real challenge for every single country is managing the risks that come with it. The question today isn't really if a country should be open anymore. The question is how you build an open system that's strong enough to handle the shocks. And figuring out how to strike that perfect balance between growth and risk, well, that's maybe the biggest economic puzzle of our time.